And how involved were you on set and making sure that your vision was still intact?
I wasn't super involved. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to take any credit. I was on set for about 1 to 2 weeks, more as like a spectator. I was just there enjoying everything. And I felt like everyone that had a hand in this movie brought their own talent to it and their own passion. And I didn't want to get in the way of that. I probably maybe would have if I thought it was going in the wrong direction, but I never felt that way, so.
Hey besties, it's happening again. The Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni shadow has officially swallowed another Colleen Hoover project whole. Her brand new film, Regretting You, dropped last week, and to say it's flopping would be generous. We're not just talking bad reviews. We're talking full-blown digital carnage. TikTok is flooded with people tearing it apart, calling it painfully awkward, emotionally hollow, and the worst adaptation yet. Even longtime Hoover fans are turning on it. And the wild part? Everyone seems to agree on why. Because Blake and Justin's lingering scandal is haunting every frame. Intro 2? But here's where it gets even worse. Regretting. You isn't just bombing with fans, it's getting torched by critics. And that's fatal, because critics are the ones who convince casual viewers to actually buy tickets. The reviews are brutal. Lazy writing, flat performances, zero emotional payoff. Paramount barely marketed it, and the opening weekend numbers show it. Compared to It Ends With Us, which, scandal and all, made a shocking $350 million on a $25 million budget. Regretting You barely made a dent. It didn't just stumble out of the gate. It never even made it to the track. Regretting You had a $25 million budget. But unlike It Ends With Us, it didn't come close to breaking even. The film opened with just $50 million domestically and $80 million worldwide, a sharp drop compared to the previous Hoover Baldoni hit. The same problems that haunted It Ends With Us are back. Tonal chaos, uneven pacing, and a story that doesn't know what it wants to be. Is it a romance, a drama, a trauma comedy? Even fans can't tell. Critics are calling it trauma porn, accusing Colleen Hoover of recycling pain and packaging it as empowerment. And honestly, the fatigue is real. Viewers are tired of watching women suffer for shock value while Blake Lively's off-screen drama overshadows the actual film. What was once a formula for success has officially turned into a warning sign. Colleen Hoover's role in this whole mess has become its own subplot. Despite downplaying her creative input, multiple insiders confirm that she was heavily involved in the film's editing, sitting right there in the bay with Blake Lively. Publicly, however, she insisted she was barely part of the process. And then, when Blake sued Justin Baldoni, a man Hoover had collaborated with for nearly 5 years and once praised endlessly, she suddenly switched sides. Overnight, she distanced herself from Baldoni, aligned with Blake, and then vanished from the internet for 2 full months once fans started calling her out. Now, critics are tearing the film apart. The question everyone's asking, what exactly is Regretting You about? The official synopsis reads, when a devastating accident exposes a shocking betrayal, Morgan, Grant, and their daughter Clara must navigate the emotional wreckage left behind. As family secrets surface, they're forced to redefine love, forgiveness, and what it truly means to start over. The plot follows a mother and daughter, Morgan and Clara, whose already tense relationship implodes after a tragic car crash kills Morgan's husband and Clara's father. When the truth about the affair between the two victims comes out, both women are left shattered, confronting betrayal, grief, and uncomfortable truths that threaten to destroy what's left of their bond. There's also a romantic subplot thrown in. Plus, for some reason, a surprising amount of time spent in AMC movie theaters, complete with awkward product placements that critics are calling immersion-breaking. Even The Hollywood Reporter, which for the longest time seemed to be the unofficial PR outlet for Blake Lively and the It Ends With Us campaign, dropped a scathing review.
Colleen Hoover needs to be put in jail. No, she needs to be arrested. Regretting You was not good at all. At least it with us had a plot. Had no plot.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Just to let anyone who heard false reviews about the movie Regretting You, you should know.
Never watched that.
You should know not to go see it, and that sucks.
That was the worst thing I've seen. That was so bad.
Don't go.
The headline, Regretting You review. Allison Williams and Dave Franco star in the movie that could end the Colleen Hoover adaptation craze. The film, directed by Josh Boone, stars McKenna Grace, Willa Fitzgerald, Scott Eastwood, and Mason Thess. A promising cast. but one critics say was undermined by confused direction and tone-deaf storytelling. And as always with Hoover's stories, the core theme remains: fractured families, moral ambiguity, and the blurred line between love and destruction. But this time, not even her loyal readers seem willing to defend her. The film struggles with its treatment of past and present. Much like in It Ends With Us, Regretting You frequently reflects on characters' histories, which complicates a straightforward narrative. You have to constantly jump between past events and the present, trying to stitch them together. It Ends With Us managed this by interlacing only a few journal entries of young Lily and Atlas, keeping the focus mainly on adult experiences. Regretting You, however, suffers from splitting itself into two occasionally intersecting plots: Morgan and Jonah's emotional healing and Clara's nascent romance. It's unclear why Clara's storyline needs to dominate so much of the screen. Perhaps Hoover, now backed by Paramount, hopes to appeal to dual audiences: mothers seeking a morally complex, romantic drama, and younger viewers drawn to coming-of-age love stories. The result, though, is a tonally erratic film that may satisfy neither. The tragedy at the heart of the story, grief and betrayal, is treated superficially. The movie occasionally acknowledges the emotional devastation, only to dismiss it moments later. Allison Williams, a naturally gifted actor, is hampered by these inconsistent emotional shifts, and both she and Dave Franco struggle to find the right tone. If the film had concentrated on these two adult characters, their performances might have been far richer and more compelling. Instead, they often appear caught off guard, unsure how to inhabit the scenes. Another major flaw is Regretting You's inescapable unoriginality. The plotting is predictable, the events uneventful, and the attempts at swoon-worthy romance and heartbreak feel forced. Rather than drawing the audience into its emotional core, the film seems content with surface-level drama, leaving viewers wanting more depth, coherence, and authenticity. With sun-dappled North Carolina backdrops, a maudlin score, and severely underdeveloped emotional and social depth. Regretting You often evokes a dreaded cinematic entity, the Nicholas Sparks knockoff. It seems almost intentional, a riff on Sparks' wholesome melodrama, spiced with more sex and alcohol, but the film winds up just as soggy as any of his offerings, squandering whatever could have differentiated or elevated it. The reviews have been brutal. The New York Times called it formulaic and predictable, with goofy writing and clumsy editing, noting that the actors were the only saving grace, managing to perform ridiculous lines with a straight face. New York Magazine and Vulture echoed this sentiment. It's hard to tell how much of the humor is intentional. Everything feels choreographed, telegraphed, and absurdly executed. The Detroit News was similarly harsh. None of the characters seem to know what kind of movie they're in. A frothy beach read on paper, but a chaotic mess on screen. Regretting You struggles with tonal whiplash. Grief, betrayal, and tragedy alternate with quips, smiles, and rom-com-style corniness, leaving the audience confused and sometimes annoyed. Slant Magazine pointed out one of the film's most jarring choices: casting Allison Williams and Dave Franco, both in their late 30s, to play characters written as teens. The comparison to It Ends With Us is unavoidable. Both films grapple with serious themes: domestic violence in It Ends With Us, fatal accidents, and betrayal in Regretting You. Yet attempt to shoehorn their narratives into cutesy rom-com frames. In It Ends With Us, Lily's banter with Ryle distracts from the reality of his abusive behavior. In Regretting You, moments of intense tragedy are undercut by awkward, almost comical romantic or teen-focused subplots. Fatigue with Colleen Hoover's formulaic storytelling is palpable. Critics and audiences alike are tiring of her predictable content, which often dooms the film before production even ends. One outlet noted that before the legal fallout between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, Hoover's first romantic drama adaptation grossed over $350 million worldwide on a $25 million budget. But with Regretting You, inconsistencies, tonal confusion, and overextended plots threaten to undo that success. Colleen Hoover's latest adaptation, Regretting You, opened to just $12.9 million in its first weekend, raising serious questions about the lasting appeal of her novels on the big screen. The criticism isn't just about production or casting choices. It stems from a deeper mismatch between her storytelling style and audience expectations. Hoover's books often mix trauma with dark humor, blending multiple genres and emotional tones in ways that don't translate easily to film. Audiences often go to movies expecting a single experience, a comedy, a thriller, a romance, not a chaotic mix of all three. Critics have long debated Hoover's work. She's a controversial author, often critiqued for writing romances some consider toxic or anti-feminist, which has fueled resentment toward her massive success. This tension carries over to her film adaptations, where opinions are equally divided. The legal drama surrounding Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni during It Ends With Us only amplified the discourse, turning what might have been a simple adaptation into a flashpoint for wider criticism. Audience fatigue with Hoover appears real. Many felt betrayed by her shifting alliances, particularly in how she publicly distanced herself from collaborators like Baldoni and Wayfair, teams who took major risks bringing her work to the screen. Fans who admired her books were disillusioned by the perception that she cast aside those who had supported her, undermining trust in both her professional and creative judgment. Her handling of sensitive topics, such as domestic violence in It Ends With Us, also drew ire. Critics argue that her approach trivialized or misrepresented serious issues, leaving audiences frustrated that her adaptations failed to respect the gravity of her source material. Combine this with her involvement in public scandals, and her work on screen is now inseparably linked to controversy. The brand of Colleen Hoover is no longer just about best-selling books. It's entangled with the real-world drama surrounding her, overshadowing the stories she's trying to tell. The way It Ends With Us handled domestic violence, both in its marketing and in the film itself, sparked massive backlash. Critics argued that the seriousness of the subject was glossed over, packaged instead as a quirky love story. And honestly, that's where the Blake Lively effect comes into play. Blake's involvement didn't just shape the film's public image, it reshaped Colleen Hoover's career trajectory. What we're seeing now is part of a much bigger problem for Hoover. Yes, she's got more adaptations on the way, including one with Anne Hathaway next year and 2 others reportedly in the pipeline. But no new studios are lining up to option her work. Regretting You, as it stands, is unlikely to break even. Financially, this is shaping up to be a loss. And Hollywood doesn't forgive flops tied to scandal. When an author's brand becomes synonymous with controversy and their projects start bleeding money, studios pull back. What began as a major experiment, bringing Hoover's book talk phenomenon to theaters, now feels like a misfire America wasn't ready for, and frankly, didn't want. I've said it before, the root of the backlash Blake Lively faced wasn't just bad PR, it was the source material itself. The book's tone, the way it treated trauma, the tone-deaf marketing decisions, like turning It Ends With Us into a coloring book, all of that came from Colleen and her team. And now, Regretting You is repeating the same mistakes. Another heavy story sold with a glossy, feel-good veneer. The Blake effect has cursed Colleen Hoover's cinematic universe. And while canceling someone in today's culture is nearly impossible, I honestly hope this marks a slow fade for her Hollywood dominance. Because we don't need another round of movies about women suffering until a man saves them. That trope is tired. And in today's world, it feels tone-deaf, outdated, and unnecessary. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching, besties. See you next time. See you next time.